In this explainer, we are unpacking an absolutely unprecedented event that recently had the entire world talking. A 2-hour United States congressional hearing where highly trained, serious military professionals sat under oath and openly discussed mystery crafts and, believe it or not, non-human biologics. For decades, the whole unidentified flying object conversation has been pushed off to the fringes, relegated to science fiction and wild conspiracy theories. But this hearing, it dragged the topic front and center, right into the halls of government, fundamentally shifting how we talk about what is actually happening in our skies. We're going to break down exactly what was said, the history leading up to it, and what it ultimately means for transparency and national security.
Okay, let's dive right into this. We're going to start with the hearing itself. Look at why they rebranded from UFO to UAP and trace the historical paper trail. After that, we'll break down those explosive whistleblower claims, examine the official pushback, and finally, get into the growing demand for public transparency.
Section 1. The UAP Congressional Hearing, Unprecedented Testimony. So the core of this recent frenzy stems from a high-stakes congressional hearing driven by a House Oversight Subcommittee. And look, this wasn't a gathering of amateur stargazers. The key witnesses here were former Navy fighter pilots and a former U.S. intelligence officer. We are talking about highly credible observers trained to identify practically anything that flies. And what they encountered completely defies our current understanding of aviation and physics. Multiple witnesses testified to seeing aerial vehicles operating with absolutely no propellers, no exhaust, and literally no visible engines whatsoever. But it wasn't just how these things looked, it was how they moved. They described incredibly rapid movement and strange, logic-defying flight trajectories that modern human engineering simply cannot replicate. We're talking instant acceleration and maneuvers that would subject a human pilot to deadly G-forces.
Section 2. Rebranding the UFO, a shift in terminology.
Before we go any deeper into the encounters themselves, we really need to talk about language, because words matter, especially to military intelligence. There's a very deliberate shift happening here. We are moving away from the term UFO, unidentified flying object. Why? Because it carries way too much baggage. Say UFO and it immediately conjures up Hollywood movies, little green men, and frankly, tinfoil hat conspiracies. Instead, the official, scientifically focused term being used right now by the military and government agencies is UAP, which stands for Unidentified Aerial Phenomena. This rebranding is absolutely crucial. By stripping away that sci-fi stigma, the military is finally encouraging its pilots and personnel to submit serious, factual reports without the fear of being mocked or having their entire careers derailed.
Let's move to part 3 and see how this builds. Key sightings and evidence, a historical paper trail.
While this recent hearing made all the headlines, the data points for this actually stretch back decades. We're not just looking at one isolated incident here, we are looking at a clear, chronological evolution of documented encounters that basically force the government's hand. The escalation of evidence starts way back in 1947, right as the Cold War was heating up, when a pilot named Kenneth Arnold reported seeing these pie pan-shaped objects over Washington state, flying at twice the speed of the fighter jets of that era. Fast forward to 2004, and you have Commander David Fravor's famous F-18 Tic Tac encounter. Then in 2015, another bizarre sighting, a spinning oval craft recorded flying near military jets. The dam really broke in 2017 when an organization called To the Stars Academy released 3 unclassified UAP videos, totally confirming that the Fravor incident and others were real recorded events. And finally, by 2022, the evidence reached such a critical mass that NASA officially launched its own dedicated UAP study. Right in the middle of that timeline is perhaps the most compelling modern account we have. Former Navy fighter pilot Commander David Fravor testified about his 2004 encounter off the coast of San Diego. He described the object, which was captured on F-18 cameras, as being shaped like a Tic Tac, basically resembling a giant, smooth, white mint. But more importantly, he stated under oath that it appeared to be built with technology far more advanced than anything humans currently possess. When a highly decorated pilot brings that level of conviction to a congressional committee, it fundamentally changes the entire conversation.
Section 4. Explosive whistleblower claims. The inside account.
While the pilot testimonies were about things seen in the sky, another witness brought the mystery straight into the deepest, most classified vaults of the Pentagon. And honestly, this is the testimony that truly triggered the latest public frenzy. Former U.S. intelligence officer David Grush testified that the U.S. government doesn't just have blurry videos. He claims they are in possession of intact, unidentified crafts. Even more stunning, he alleged the recovery of non-human biologics from these crash sites. He laid out details of a decades-long, heavily compartmentalized secret program dedicated specifically to reverse engineering this otherworldly technology. Now, it's vital to note exactly how Grush got this information. He stated clearly that he didn't see these crafts or biologics firsthand. Rather, his testimony is based on incredibly extensive interviews with over 40 high-level project insiders over a 4-year period. Section 5. Official data and skepticism. Pushing back.
Now, what's really interesting about this next part is the massive collision of narratives. In an explainer like this, we have to look at all the evidence objectively. And the reality is, the Department of Defense is pushing back incredibly hard against the whistleblower narrative. We have a stark juxtaposition here. On one side, there's David Grush's phenomenal testimony alleging the possession of non-human biologics and secret reverse engineering programs. And on the exact opposite side, we have rigid, absolute denial from the Pentagon. Pentagon spokesperson Sue Goff issued statements explicitly denying these claims, asserting that the Department of Defense has discovered no verifiable information to substantiate claims that any programs regarding the possession or reverse engineering of extraterrestrial materials have ever existed. It's a direct, undeniable contradiction. You have sworn testimony from a former intelligence officer on one hand and a definitive, absolute institutional denial on the other. To ground us a little further, let's look at the hard data collected by AARO. That's the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, which is the Pentagon's official UAP investigation office, led by physicist Sean Kirkpatrick. They reviewed over 800 UAP reports dating back to 1996. Their findings? Up to 95% of these sightings are easily explained. They're mundane objects like weather balloons, commercial drones, natural atmospheric phenomena, or just airborne clutter. For instance, you might remember that highly publicized incident where an F-22 shot down a Chinese spy balloon earlier this year. That accounts for exactly the kind of conventional explanation that covers the vast majority of these reports. However, what about that remaining 2 to 5%? Well, those are the true unexplained anomalies that still defy any conventional classification.
Section 6. The demand for transparency. Why this matters to you. And this brilliantly illustrates the core issue we're facing right now. With all these conflicting narratives and a small percentage of genuinely true anomalies, the conversation is shifting away from "are aliens real?" to a highly tangible real-world issue: government oversight, airspace safety, and public transparency. Unexplained aerial phenomena have become a regular occurrence, one that is actively impacting the safety and confidence of our pilots. That's a point noted directly by National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby. When military and commercial pilots don't know what they're encountering in the sky, it creates an immediate hazard. Regardless of whether these objects are extraterrestrial, highly advanced foreign drones, or just classified domestic projects, they are operating in restricted airspace with total impunity, and that is a pressing national security crisis.
Because of this very real security and safety threat, the push for transparency is coming from all sides right now. NASA recently held its first public meeting on the topic, pointing out they are currently tracking 1 to 4 meter spherical objects globally. In Congress, a bipartisan effort led by Senators Chuck Schumer and Mike Rounds is actively proposing laws within the National Defense Authorization Act to force the declassification of UAP records. On top of that, experts like Luis Elizondo, the former director of the Pentagon's previous UAP program, are sounding the alarm that we simply cannot allow unknown craft to breach our airspace without consequences. Ultimately, this all boils down to oversight. It's about the public's right to know what is flying in their skies and exactly what their tax dollars might be funding behind closed doors.
So, the crucial point is this: we are standing at a highly unique crossroads of aviation safety, military intelligence, and quite possibly the deepest mysteries of our universe. The recent congressional hearings peeled back the curtain just enough to show that the UAP phenomenon is a real, measurable issue that requires serious scientific inquiry. But it also highlighted a massive rift in trust between whistleblowers and official defense institutions. As lawmakers push for unprecedented transparency, we are left with a profound dilemma. Can the government successfully balance the absolute necessity of keeping national security secrets with humanity's fundamental, burning right to know if we are not alone in the universe? It's a question that isn't going away anytime soon. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and remember, keep your eyes on the skies.